Hi, everybody. My name is Miles Ward. I'm CTO here at SADA, and this is Cloud and Clear, where we meet, I think, the best and brightest in cloud and help unpack what's coming, what's happened, how we've gotten here, and what you can use from those learnings to apply and do incredible things in public cloud. I am joined by one of my, heroes, like heroes in the Google Cloud ecosystem, one of the real leaders helping everybody think hard about their data and make sense of it in a way that adds value, that gets people moving more quickly, that helps them rise to the occasion. Lak Lakshmanan is the guy. So if you have any employees that are thinking about data science, I guarantee you they are reading books that he wrote. If you are following examples in the Google Cloud environment on best practice or implementation, he wrote them. So I'm very, very proud to have him on our show today and excited about the conversation we're going to have. Howdy, Lak.
Hi, Miles. It's so great to see you again. It's been a few months. It's like with all of COVID. Normally I run into you every few months. And we were just talking about I was just thinking back the first time we met. And this was I had just joined Google, and my manager at the time was like, "You're going to see this total genius guy. He's just flown in from Santa Barbara. He's going to be." So this was at a cafe, and he's like, "We're going to walk in. There's going to be this guy sitting right by the entrance, and everybody's going to be making a beeline towards him." I'm like, "All right, who's this fellow?" And there you are, right? So it was awesome to see you, and it's been awesome to basically have worked with you all these years. Yeah.
Look, getting called a genius by a genius is a humbling thing. I'm shitty at computers, everybody, in comparison to my friend Lex. So we have been working in parallel to try and I wrote down my little goal was make cloud easier. And I always thought of Lak as just putting the little up bullet above that, make cloud data easier, right? And you've done a bunch for that. What's hot in that? What are kind of recent additions that are happening, maybe in platform, maybe in tools, maybe just better guidance that are helping people take more advantage?
Right. And I think the best way to think about this is that data science on the cloud is becoming easier and easier and easier. So it's not just you and I, Miles, with our mission of make cloud easier or make cloud data easier. This is a mission that a lot of the product teams have taken up. This is a mission that a lot of the solution teams have done. So every time I go back and look at something that I wrote maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I say, aha, we can do that a lot easier now, right? So just very recently, I was looking at doing an ML pipeline for an image classification model. And the way that used to happen was that you had to do a whole bunch of bespoke things. But instead, now building an image pipeline took me all of 15 minutes. I had done the modeling and everything before, but packaging it up into a pipeline. And I was just step back and say, why is this easier? And it's easier not because of the stuff that happened in data science, but because ML pipelines now, you run it on Kubeflow, which is done on Kubernetes, and containerization is so much easier, right? Building a component is so much easier to the point where if you're a data scientist, you're writing a 3-line Docker file, you're basically creating a component with inputs and outputs, and it just works. And that, I think, is the thing that a lot of, that's what really gets me excited. This idea that it's not just what we do individually, but there's this huge momentum, this whole community. And improvements in data science are driven not just by people doing research in machine learning. That happens too. So when you look at, for example, language models, right? Building a natural language classification model used to be extremely difficult. But now you have sentence embedders and BERT and so on. It's often you want to take a paragraph and you want to basically classify the paragraph. I can now show you TensorFlow code that does it in 6 lines of TensorFlow code.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The embedders are already built. They're already published. There's TensorFlow Hub. You download it and boom, you basically create your classification model that last bit of fine tuning on it. And again, this is the whole community that comes behind us to get this done. And that's what I know. Things are getting easier. And the more things get easier, the more of it gets done.
Well, there's Urs is the one who I've heard sort of phrase it the way that makes sense to me, where he's in this sort of kind of debate together with Larry and Sergey and the whole sort of army about how much more productive sort of core software development on the Google side is, and enumerating the benefits of this consistent reused platform that makes it so that whatever you build, the next guy down the line can take advantage of, and the gal on the new team is able to deploy faster the next time around. And the innovations that you make, they actually accrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we want to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? But like if I can't find the shoulders and like the documentation's missing, and I had a bunch of people early at AWS say, I don't want you to write solutions documents. Don't write the how-to guide. That's stupid. Just give me the code for it. And I go, well, right, but like code for what? You want it as like a VMware image, or you want me to write it in write scale, or you were like, now you just go, yes, I will build a container for that.
Exactly.
And then it's like, I'll build a CRD for that. I'll build all of those building blocks are making it so that you really have the ability to stand on the shoulders of giants.
Right. And again, so a lot of tooling gets built. If you're talking about BigQuery, the ability to build user-defined functions, save them and share them. Now, basically, we can now treat queries as code, and you can basically combine queries and build data pipelines on the shoulders of what other people have built. And that's incredible. And that contributes to making things easier.
Yeah, I have evil product ideas all over this stuff. Like everybody that hasn't had to bear the responsibility of product management is intensely enamored with their idea of product management. I will just come up with ideas and then magic people will build them. Yay.
Yeah, the execution is the thing, right? So,
yeah, I know it's super, super hard. But in that vein, I think that there's, on the one side, we feel like we have come so far, right? Like I remember spending, I don't know how much time trying to lay out this demonstration for a customer. It was the very first use of the Vision API, and we just wanted to make it so that didn't suck. And like, I'm
the fashion detector. Do you remember the fashion?
Yeah, fashion detector. Yes. That demo worked rad.
Okay, so for those of you listening, go ahead and do a web search for April Fool's joke and fashion detector. And while you're at it, also do a web search for the another April Fool's joke around the Google Wind.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think the very best one is the self-driving bike. Like it's just flawless. Like it's got two baby carriages front and back. Oh yeah. If all of that technology work that has gotten us to this spot where we are looking at things and going, wow, it's gotten a lot easier. But talk to me about like trajectory there. Like it's hard. I want to feel like, we've made it. Look, it's really easy now. Ta-da! Like what do you think comes after easy? Like what's next?
As usual, right? It comes down to sure, we talk about, as technology geeks, we say, hey, this becomes easier and easier and easier. But I think we need to have a little bit of empathy here, is that it becomes easier and easier and easier, but it's also becoming faster and faster and faster. And when you basically take someone coming new into the field, it's confusing, right? There is so many options. There's so many ways that you could do it. And you're never sure if it's been done before or if the way that you're doing it is the best way to do it. So, part of this is to basically document best practices, provide prescriptive guidance. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect here is, again, in my current role, I talk to a lot of different customers. And what we get what I hear and what their problems that they articulate are different depending on who they are. When I talk to a data science leaders, what they are always asking is, how do I get more done with the scrappy team that I have?
Sure.
They have all built teams in the last 3 to 4 years, right? The teams are all very immature from a processor standpoint, but they are being extremely productive, right? So I was talking to someone who basically runs a team of 70 people. And he was basically talking about how it's extremely bottom heavy. All of these people are very, very, very junior, but extremely productive. He says, like we're in this business, they're in the logistics business. So we're in this business where we just have this idea and we basically plop that in, just let's say we try it out and it's worth $4.5 million. Every single idea that one of their junior scientists does, the project takes 5 to 6 weeks, and it basically, the value of that project to the business is millions of dollars. There's so much opportunity here because there's been so little that's been done with data. So now the question that these data science leaders ask is, how can I get more done and still keep this scrappiness, still keep this value creation going? Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I also talked to another group of people. These are folks that are IT leaders, right? So they've been sold that cloud is going to save them money, right? So they've basically gone ahead and they've done these cloud migrations. They're taking all the stuff that they used to manage on-prem. They've been told that when they move to the cloud, it's going to give you the budget. So maybe you can go invest in data, start basically doing innovation. But they're like, okay, I've done this cloud migration. Where is the cost savings you promised me? Where are these cost savings? Right? And because what we fail to tell them is, if you take whatever you're doing on-prem and you move it as is to the cloud, that's not going to get you very far, right? You're going to get your 20%, 30% cost savings because cloud machines are easier. Maybe you don't need to renew the purchases. You're basically taking your CapEx and making it OpEx. But that kind of financial engineering doesn't give you the 70%, 80% headline number that they've been promised. So now they're like saying, where is this cost savings that I thought I was going to get? Because that 20% gets eaten up in the first year. And then, of course, like you have the CEOs, the CTOs who basically are hearing both the innovation team saying, I want to do more, give me the ability to do more. And the IT team saying, yeah, I said I would free up budget for you, but I'm not actually running any cheaper. And the CEOs and CTOs basically say, look, let's stop here. When we bring Google in, when we bring Google Cloud in, we really need a partner who's able to help us balance these things, being able to get the cost savings, being able to get the innovation and while right.
I swear to you, this is not a paid advertisement for SATA Systems. Lak is not receiving free tacos from our taco truck. I could not agree more. I think there are a huge number of customers where they want more opportunities. They have a real appetite for opportunity. And the level of opportunity in ML is so big that they kind of get exhausted with. They don't want to sound hyperbolic in front of their leadership over and over and over again. Yeah. And they have produced, it's really straightforward to produce positive effects. And I think all of us can look and go it
is straightforward to produce positive effects. But unfortunately, it does not come about on day zero, right? You need to have this foundation in place of having all of your data silos broken, of being able to join all of your data sets across the organization, being able to build in, bring in new data sets, being able to do serverless data analysis, democratize analytics. All of this is like
Right.
stakes.
Before you get value one, right? Exactly.
Right. Before you get the first, but once you have that foundation, there is so much opportunity, and you're like, boom, boom, boom. Every single project you do is bringing a ton of value to the company. But unfortunately, this doesn't happen until you've done a whole bunch of hard work. In terms of, the hard work really comes down to politics, right? You need to basically, the politics within the company, getting the executive aligned, figuring out what the people in the company, what their roles are, what they need to do, how they basically clean up the data, how they govern the data. Because the other thing that you don't want to do is to basically break down all the silos and then lose your competitive advantage or destroy your users' privacy.
There's a great article I think you've seen internally on the Google side where, people were trying to understand, why does Google fail at projects or close products or turn things off? And the internal analysis was really like, it's impossible for any executive, really at any business, Google aside, to digest enough information to make a purely rational decision about any of this stuff. And so it's all about, educated guesses and instinctive behavior. And so they need to see the team members who participate, one, demonstrate value relatively quickly, but two, confident about their path for that.
Also, I get worried if I see a team that claims that they've never had an idea that didn't work. Like
right.
if you're a team and you've basically implemented 10 ideas and all 10 of them worked, it scares me a little bit because it seems to indicate that you're only doing stuff that is like relatively low ROI, that is absolutely sure that you see the end result ahead. You have to be willing to fail. Right. And it's not that every project is going to succeed, but the ones that you put in production, hopefully will.
It's one of the balancing acts in that, like, I want the use of the platform to be, hugely experimental, and that you're trying a whole bunch of different ideas and some of those won't work, and you sort of throw out that approach.
It doesn't work.
That implementing the platform itself is a risk.
Exactly.
Right. And they're like, that's the one I can't mess up.
Enough people have now built cloud data analytics platforms that you're not blazing the way. And these are things that so many different organizations and so many different industries, they've done it. They've learned how to build pipelines that are serverless, analytics that are serverless. They've learned how to democratize. So the key thing there is that part is becoming less risky. And to get back to our original point, cloud is becoming easier. That's what is becoming easier. It's becoming less risky to build a platform on the cloud.
Yeah. And that's the spot where, I think there's a useful transition to thinking about kind of Google's products, because I know that platform has matured radically in the last 6 years, 7 years that I've been paying attention to it, and I see a lot of the building blocks that were still kind of like open question marks. Like, there's a data catalog now. Oh, that's fairly convenient. And
you have to program in Java now. You can program in Python, and now you basically have data flow templates where somebody's already built it for you, and you drag and drop it and you run it. And you basically have Beam that runs on Spark and Flink, and so you can run it in open. So there's a whole, it's become easier, but the options have also grown. So that's always the scenario, right? You become easier, but then you have more ways to do it.
There's this market making problem that I hope Google approaches at some point where, like, I know that I can buy a platform like take a Boomi from Dell or something like that, where they say, I've already done all the integrations for you and all of them, and you pay us a lot because I have all of the integrations you're ever going to possibly want done in front of you. And that's what gets me plugged in and going. I'm happy to pay someone for an integration between two SaaS products that I already have that work, but I just want to pay for that one. And so, and I would prefer to have it run in data flow so I get the logging and telemetry and all the rest of that. So it's just right there. Like, you have a marketplace, maybe like a marketplace for data flow would be pretty great, right?
I mean, totally, Miles. In fact, that's something that my team is currently doing, which is that we're building a number of these departmental data marts that do exactly that, right? So we cannot solve the problem for absolutely everything, but if you're in marketing, if you're in finance, if you're doing HR, we know the top kind of products in each of those areas. These tend to be SaaS products, and so we now look at how to basically get data from those systems and join them, and basically have them available in BigQuery with BQML models and Looker dashboards. And so that entire data mart is now ready to roll. So that's something that we're doing now.
I have an internal enterprise data warehouse team that's very happy that you just enumerated the platform stack that we use so that they don't feel like they've made horrible life choices. For everybody else that's watching the video, that's the stack you should be using. Don't be silly. It costs a lot less. It goes much faster. Listen to the guy. He actually knows what he's talking about. So, if that's, that kind of, enabling some of this to get more commercial, because I want to see data scientists get paid more. So the more that I can make it so that they have the ability to crack one of these little integration components or make it so that, a projection on a class of data that's interesting to me. Like I had a bunch of customers go, I love that Vision API thing. Doesn't seem to do jack for my financial tables, but very lovely. Do I convert my spreadsheets to pictures and then categorize them in the Vision? I'm like, no, that does not work. You cannot do that. I think there's a long, I read an article just yesterday that was calling kind of like the stagnation of AI or the AI winter or something like that. I'm like, no, perhaps not.
So, and of course, again, like with a lot of these things, people look at the technology itself and say, what is new in this particular technology? And we can geek out about the vision models becoming better and the language models becoming better and all that. But fundamentally, that is not what drives business value. The business value is actually driven by three really boring things. Okay, so the first really boring thing is get your people hands-on with the data, democratize the data, break down the data silos, allow anybody in your business to be able to interrogate the data, to be able to view the data, slice it, carry out analytics on it. That brings a tremendous amount of value. It's hard to articulate how that's going to give you value, but people are smart and your people have been embedded in your business, know your domain. And so that democratizing analytics ends up surfacing a lot of neat ideas all the time. So that's the way that you get business value, the first way. The second way that you get business value is by doing things in real time. There's so many business processes that happen on a batch mode. You basically say, at the end of the week, I will aggregate this, I will tally this, I will basically figure this out. If instead of doing this at the end of the week, you do it as the transaction happens, suddenly the value tends to be a lot more. Imagine that you're approving a loan and it takes you, so you say, you need to submit your loan form and I'll get back to you in 3 days. Or you say, when you submit a loan, I'll make a decision in a few microseconds. Making the decision in a few microseconds opens up a brand new market to you. And that can be tremendous. So just changing the things that you do in batch and making them real time is your second tremendous opportunity. And the third opportunity, again, which is extremely boring, is to take things that today you do manually and digitize them. And digitization, right, means very different things for different industries. So like we work with the supermarket chain. And for that supermarket chain, digitization basically means curbside delivery, right? But that essentially means that they have to know exactly what items are in their store at any point in time, right? They need to basically make sure that they have the store completely laid out so that someone can go, so if I upload a shopping list and their buyer needs to basically get the most optimal route through the store to pick up all the items and basically
Right.
have them packed optimally and have them available for delivery curbside when the car pulls up. That is what digitization means in a supermarket business. Digitization means completely something different for a media business, right? It means something completely different if you're a manufacturing business. And so you've got to figure out what are the things that you're doing manually that you can digitize. And that's your third value creation bit. So the value isn't getting created by better technology on the image modeling side. But the fact that you can train an image model to figure out if a shelf is empty is going to give you a lot of benefit when you actually digitize the supermarket. The fact that you can make a decision of an uploaded driver's license photograph means that you can basically make a loan approval happen in real time. The fact that you can basically send out this information that's available on store layout and basically have somebody in your head office figure out that it is much better to reorganize items because they often bought together is going to speed up the curbside delivery. It's going to speed up. That's the democratization of analytics, and that will give you a lot of benefits. So really the benefits are not going to come from the technology. It's going to come from the use of the technology with democratization, with real time, and with digitization.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of customers where the misconception with real time is that all of their stuff stays the same. They're just doing their batches more frequently, right? Like, yay, you're going to sell me the higher performance one so that I do a batch every minute. And then they go, no, there will be no batch. And they're like,
it's going to happen as it happens.
Yeah, per event. And they go, well, but so I think one of the biggest places we're trying to make sense of it, as we spend more and more time, not even really directly with end customers, but just one step upstream with the ISVs that serve them, is thinking through how the really well-trod models for solving some of these problems in a batch way can get fixed at the ISV level, can get fixed at the software vendor level so that they have the ability to offer real time to their customers. Because I think for a lot of companies where the pipeline that you're describing, right, like doing the shopping cart lookup, for them, that's an integration project between 7 pieces of commercial software.
Exactly.
And so they can say, hell yeah, I want to do real time. And all four of them support it. But this one over here is a piece of software built in the 90s and it sure don't. So my whole thing is not real time. And that's helping plug into the software company.
We often talk about these levels in your journey. First level in your journey, make sure that all of your data sets are on the cloud. Second step in your journey, break down your data silos. Third step in your journey, start to do things as they happen. And then fourth step in your journey, incorporate AI. Right. So that's that. You've got to walk before you can run.
Yeah, I drew that as a little ladder a while ago. It worked pretty good. So there's a bunch of spots where, if I think your data is in the cloud, the very first line, the very first sentence depends on that your, right? And I think there are so many of our customers that don't actually own very much of the data that they depend on because they've looked at how much work it would take to build the software that they need and instead have opted for ISVs or SaaS vendors or service providers or APIs or the rest that do that work.
And also, what we often find is that customers aren't even collecting the data that would make a difference to their business. And sometimes it's about collecting that data, and that data might belong with a partner, might belong with with your supplier, might belong with your retail channel, and bringing that data in so that you can start to make decisions with it is a fundamental shift in the way that a lot of companies work.
It's this value flywheel where I feel like you have to have some end outcome that's real, that's for your business.
Right.
And that part of the pipeline working to go, we can solve problems if we have this data. This is all the data we don't have.
Right.
Now that checklist makes sense. And you can actually apply pressure to say, no, I do want the data out of that SaaS system. It's what's going to make me unable to do more work. But you don't feel like you're like fighting for a thing that you can't actually use, right? I go fight in my contract to get access to the data, and then I don't have any display system.
Many of these things can be solved, as you mentioned, Miles, like one use case at a time. Right? You don't have to go boil the ocean. You can just say, this is the one thing that I want to do. Let me go ahead and find the data sets that would make a difference. Let me collect them. Let me bring them together. And again, although I said, you have to have your data on the cloud, it doesn't have to be all on the cloud. There are some data sets that can be on-prem, and we can basically aggregate them, push them. There's ways in which we can build a data pipeline that is heterogeneous.
Yeah, we've worked with a bunch of customers where the placeholder for that label is it has to be accessible at the same speed, at the same cost profile as cloud. I just know very, 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 very few places where you can pull off what BigQuery does any place other than BigQuery. So I hate making the technology the sort of pedantic recommendation. You got to be in BQ. It's like, no, you can be wherever you want as long as it, costs that little and is totally serverless and is incredibly fast and reliable and works in every one of the regions. And that list is getting rather long, isn't it? Like, let me know if you want to, investigate other stuff. So.
There's always regulatory reasons why you might have some piece of data that has to be in a certain place. And there are ways in which you can organize it. It's not going to be optimal from a speed perspective, but there are ways that we can organize it, we can tokenize it, we can keep it safe, we can keep it ephemeral in a way that you can use this data for analytics and then get rid of it.
Okay, so three books everybody's got to go read. That's like a critical, obvious thing. The O'Reilly books are a great primer for getting started on this stuff. Any other materials like kicking YouTube video channels or spots that we should watch to make sure we're on the ball?
It's all about basically figuring out what you need to learn. And depending on what you need to learn, you basically have different areas to go. But a good place to start is cloud.google.com/solutions. I find it usually helpful to start with a problem that I want to solve and say, what do smart people say is a good way to solve this problem? Go look at the reference architecture, go look at the details of how they solved it, and then start delving deeper. Oh, they used Bigtable. What exactly is Bigtable again? Let's go look at what Bigtable is, and basically go down a few rabbit holes and you basically learn the contours of the entire problem. So yes, so definitely start with things like the book, the data science book, which basically gives you that overview of the entire landscape. But then start to look for the specific problem that you're solving, the solution to that problem as it's recommended, and then use that as your branching off point to learn about various things.
Lak, look, every time we talk, I learn 5 new things, and you burn weekends of mine, which is super frustrating. I was going to do a bunch of sawing, and now I have to go do a bunch of reading this weekend. Thank you for screwing up my weekend. I really appreciate you taking a block of time, and your friendship and camaraderie is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So thanks for
Thank you, Miles. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.